Hi friends, today we are going to go ahead and see a very simple example, and you know that every programming language begins with this, that is hello world. So we are going to go ahead and see how can we display hello world in Django. Alright, so let's begin. So I have my command prompt all set and running. So the code is already running for us. If you observe the browser, the basic layout that we had seen in the last video is already available over here. Now what we need to go ahead and do is we need to make certain modifications in our program, and here I'm going to introduce you to a new concept that is called views. So we would require a view to go ahead and deal with this. So what are we going to do is we are going to right click on our project and click on new file, and we are going to name it views.py. Now when I go ahead and deal with this, what am I going to do is I am going to do a very basic step, that is go ahead and write the code for displaying hello world. So for that, what I'm going to do is first I need to make an import. So from Django.http import http response h and r capital. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm going ahead and writing function based view. What do I mean by function based view? So function based view is majorly the code that we write with the help of a function. So we are going to go ahead and say define hello world function that is going to accept a request. So if you remember your model, the complete project flow that we had seen in the last video, we know that every time the view comes in with a request object. So that's the reason we write a request. Now what exactly are we going to do? We are going to go ahead and say return http response, and in this we will go ahead and say hello world. So this is a plain text that I am passing out here. Now we go ahead, this is step number 1, but as we all know, without a urls.py this is not going to be effective. So we go to navigate to urls.py. In the urls.py we are going to go ahead add a path, and we know that every path has 3 components. First, the path itself, so that's going to be blank. The second is going to be the function that is going to be called on this particular path, so that is going to be imported from dot views. What is the meaning of dot? Current folder, and views is the file name. So from dot views import hello world. So that's the function that we have created, and then we write the hello world. The third thing that we had seen is we need to go ahead give a path name, that is from the developer perspective. So we call for a name parameter, and we are going to name it home. After you're done with this, do ensure to give a comma because we are dealing with a list. So once we are done with this step, we are good to go ahead. I am saving my code, and we are going to go to the command prompt to check whether the reloading is happening. So the reload has happened successfully. Now I go back to my browser and hit a refresh. So you see this, we have our plain text hello world available. Now we are going to go ahead and perform one more modification. In this, let's write a HTML code. So we are going to go ahead, give a h1 tag over here and complete the h1 tag. So now when I perform this step and I save the code, you see a reload happened again over here, and when we hit refresh the modification happens. Now just imagine that if we end up writing everything in this particular fashion, all the HTML tags in a string format, it's going to be super difficult. This is where we are going to introduce ourselves to something that is called as templates. These are nothing but creating HTML pages and we are going to go ahead and understand this. But before we move ahead to that, let's understand what is the project flow now when we are done with creating of a simple hello world example. So how does it work? So the user is writing the URL onto the browser, that is here. Okay, so once the user does that, the request ends up into the web server. Once the web server has received the request, it goes to the WSGI. We already know from WSGI it's going to go to request middleware. From request middleware, it's going to come into the URL router. So when I say the URL router over here, the request is ending up inside the URL spy, and it is checking what is the path. So if you observe, the path does not have anything at the end. That's the reason it affirms that yes, the path is available. Now, because the affirmation has been received, it is going to hunt for the function name inside. So you see this over here, we wrote the function name, and it is clearly evident that the function is coming from current folders views.py. So exactly the same thing happens. It is going to navigate to views.py. So now the link is going to come over here into the views.py. Once it comes into the views.py, it is going to search for the function that says hello world, and it will do the job that is being told to be done inside the function. So over here we are making a simple HTTP response. So that response will be sent into the response middleware, from the response middleware into the WSGI, and from WSGI to the user, and that's how this page gets loaded. Alright guys, so only this much for this particular video. In our next session, we are going to go ahead and see how to create templates, and we are also going to learn another concept, that is how do we go ahead and apply CSS to our code. So we are going to see two new things in the next video, that is how to go ahead deal with templates and how to deal with static website. Till then guys, thank you and happy coding.